There's movies based on true horror events, but there's also games based on true horror events, and we're gonna talk about that today. Now, I made a small list of games that was inspired by actual events. So let's get started. Now, I'm sure that almost every single one of us knows about the Silent Hill franchise. Now, Silent Hill is a survival horror game released back in 1999, created by Team Silent and published by Konami. Now, in this title, you play as Harry Mason, who along with his adopted daughter, Cheryl, goes on holiday to a small, charming town named Silent Hill. Their car ended up crashing shortly after entering the town, and when Harry wakes up, he realizes that Cheryl has disappeared, and the town is engulfed with a mysterious fog. It no longer resembles the serene, charming place they were heading to. Suddenly, in the distance, Harry spots a figure resembling his daughter, so he tries to catch up, delving deeper and deeper into the eerie, fog-covered streets. While the plot and story of Silent Hill are indeed the creation of Keiichiro Toyama, the game's setting was inspired by real events and an existing town, Centralia, located in Pennsylvania. Until the 1960s, it was a quiet, small coal mining town. In 1962, authorities ordered local firemen to burn garbage in one of the mines. Now, the task was carried out, and the life of the town continued until the ground literally started to open up, spewing forth massive clouds of toxic smoke and destroying homes and streets. It quickly became apparent that the uncontrolled fire had spread to underground coal deposits in several mines. The town was enveloped in a thick, grey fog, and residents began to fall ill. By the mid-80s, almost everyone had moved away or been relocated to safer areas, leaving behind an abandoned, desolated ghost town. Interestingly, the underground fire is so massive that it continues to burn to this day, and scientists believe that Centralia's underground fires may burn for another 250 years. Next up is one of the most famous and terrifying games of the last decade, by the name of Outlast. The game was developed by Red Barrels. In this title, you step into the shoes of Miles Upshur, a journalist looking to create a report about the patients at the Mount Massive Asylum in Colorado. Now, the hospital has been closed for many years, but was recently purchased and turned into a research facility. Miles receives information suggesting that something sinister is happening there, hinting at dangerous experiments, including those related to mind control, known as MK Ultra. The plot and mechanics of Outlast already sounds terrifying, right? But that's not all. What's most horrifying is the fact that Outlast's story is based on true stories. MK Ultra was a real research project from the Cold War era in the 1950s that involved administrating various drugs to unsuspecting people. A variety of substances were given to agents, military personnel, doctors, and unwitting clients of pleasure houses. Because the results were unsatisfactory for the scientists, they decided to expand the project, testing new substances on prisoners and students. If you think that's bad, just listen. They subjected them to not only explosive mixtures of dangerous substances, but also to hypnosis, electroshock therapy, paralytics, and many other treatments. The truth only came to light in the 1970s, after an article was published in the New York Times describing the experiments. The whole mission of this project was to produce a perfect truth drug for interrogating suspected Soviet spies during the Cold War, and to explore other possibilities of mind control. Now, next up on the list is called The Town of Light. Now, The Town of Light is a psychological adventure thriller developed by the Italian studio LKA and produced by Wired Productions in 2016. Now, in this game, you play as a 16-year-old girl named Rini, who arrives in an abandoned Volterra psychiatric hospital in Tuscany to recover memories. Rini suffered from schizophrenia and anxiety. So, during her journey through the facility, she experiences various visions caused by her illness. As she explores, she slowly uncovers the hospital's dark secrets. Now, this one is interesting because the creators openly admit that the Town of Light, as well as the Volterra Asylum itself, are based on true events and places. And the game is intended to be an interactive story about the place and a tribute to all who endured a real-life hell there. The Volterra Psychiatric Hospital was opened in the late 19th century and housed nearly 5,000 patients. Now, the Volterra Psychiatric Hospital was infamous, but not for the number of recoveries, but for its gruesome methods of treatment, including electroshock therapy, random doses of drugs, etc. And if you think that is bad, it's also infamous for the mistreatment of patients who were subjected to torture by the staff. Fortunately, in the 1978, the hospital, like many other facilities, was permanently closed down. Now, the last one I want to talk about is called Kholat. Now, Kholat is a first-person survival horror game developed and published by the Polish studio IMGN.pro in 2015. In Kholat, you play as an explorer who traverses a dense forest at night. Your task is to find the right path and face the lurking dangers in the thickets. The game's mechanics are designed to keep the action going at all times. This means that unlike other titles, the actions doesn't pause when you check the map, the compass, or your inventory. Something can surprise you even while you're analyzing the route for too long. The creators, when designing the game, drew inspiration from the true story that took place in 1959 on the Dyatlov Pass. Located in the Ural Mountains in Russia, a group of students went on a mountain expedition and never returned. Their frozen bodies were found on a slope of Kholat, Psych, meaning dead mountain. Now, what makes it interesting is their tent, located a few kilometers away, had been cut open from the inside, indicating that the group hastily fled the campsite. Now, this is a story that I watched a couple of years ago, also on a YouTube video, that I always found it interesting, because what happened there? I guess we'll just never know. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and even share if you really want to. On the next video, we'll probably be uncovering the real-life Granny and what actually happened, because Granny, the game, is also based on a true story that's darker than you might expect. Not gonna lie, I actually kind of enjoyed this video. This was like a roleplay expedition for me.